of labor not only in the countryside but also in the urban centers. So what happened to this new working class? When they migrate to work in the Foxconn, how can it be sustainable? As a factory, but then you didn't really have your own workforce. The workforce mobile from one place to another place. It can be done simply because we create, the capital create a kind of system or kind of regime, which I call it dormitory labor regime. Means what? Means that by using the dormitory labor regime, we can combine the production sphere, the production space, as well as the reproduction space. So if you're going to work in the Foxconn, apart from the 12 hours, you will be controlled by the capital. Another 12 hours, because your daily reproduction also highly controlled by the capital, because you have to hand over yourself to the Foxconn. So by using this kind of dormitory labor regime, it's very effective to enhance the just-in-time production as well as to suppress the wage, because the wage you provide to the workers, they are not for you to stay in the city. They are not for you to serve your own community. They are not for you to have your own family. They are for you, to attach to the company dormitory. So you stay there time periodly. You're working there all time. So you don't, even though you have money to spend, actually you don't have time to spend. but in reality, it's no money to spend. So this kind of confined socio-political space, I would say, is cut off from the support of their family networks as well as broader social communities. So, if we look at this aspect, and then whenever I go, to the West, people will tell me that your government, your state is so strong because nobody can really resume, after the financial crisis within 2 or 3 years, but your government can do it. So the Chinese state is so strong. I always have to correct you. Is China, strong, or is the state strong? I would say yes and no. Yes, simply because you look in the number. Look in the number. But if you look into the stories, whenever you talk to the peasants, whenever you talk to the workers, all of them, even before the financial crisis or after the financial crisis, they didn't feel that the state really protect them. So even though I go to Chongqing, which is a new dream for many people like me, so I rush to see whether in Chongqing our government can provide better protection to the labor and to the peasant, which obviously disappointed me. Because when Foxconn moved in Chongqing, it occupied 100 villages, spare all the peasants, remove all their houses, remove all their land. And these peasants, the process is unlike the process of proletarization in the West. Because here, when you become fully proletarized, you become an industrial labor, you become an industrial worker, which is of course according to the theory. But in reality, in China, in Chongqing, these landless peasants, they don't even have a hope to get into Foxconn. Tell you why? Because they're too old. So you may ask me how old they are. They are 30, 30. Foxconn they only recruit labor at the age of 16 to 20, at most 25. So if you are above the age of 30s, none of them can get into Foxconn. So you may ask me whether the Chongqing government, they will offer them an extra support and compare with other provincial government. I tell you, I didn't discover any. So if the logic of development is still rely on global capital expansion, I see hopeless that this kind of welfare capitalism or welfare state provided by Chongqing, the model of Chongqing is effective. And apart from that, the workers, we could, become younger and younger. When we try to compare the first generation, maybe some of the people here, you read my book, Made in China, which is all about the first generation, and I will tell you it's outdated, so you don't really have to spend time to read it. But even having said this, when we look into the first generation of the migrant laborers, the youngest, the factory worn is 18. Why? Because we have an abundant supply of labor. So if you're too young, actually the company don't want you. That's why we always argue that in our history of industrialization, we don't have child labor because we have abundant supply of labor. So unlike the other part of the third world, it was true in the 90s, but it was not true now. Why? Because we are not really have unlimited supply of labor. We are actually in the age of shortage of labor now. And also because our labor, the nature of our labor, because they are migrants, so they circulate themselves, they mobile themselves, they move themselves from one place to one place. And if they stay in a single factory, they stay just for a few months. According to our studies in more than 10 Foxconn factories, the majority of them stay for 5 months only. So it was impossible for them to really keep a sustainable and number of labor use. So let me jump a little bit. So what the government do when they try to attract Foxconn to set the factory in their own areas, they promise to give them cheap land, and in Chengdu and also in Chongqing, they give them land for no cost, and they also promise to provide them labor supply because that's the most concern of Foxconn whenever it goes. So how can you do? If you are a local state, how can you provide the labor to Foxconn? So they have a very creative measure. Creative in the sense that they take into the huge number of students. When I'm talking about students, they mean that these are vocational school students. Then that's why I'm saying that we are not using child labor. Because of what? Because of why? Because most of the vocational school kids, they're at the age of 15 and 16. And the government had the Foxconn to sign contract with this vocational college. And so when the kids enter into the vocational college, they study for 1 year, and the second year they're all sent to Foxconn, despite what kind of discipline you were studying. So some of these kids actually they study tourism management business, and some of them even study music, but it doesn't matter because they all sent to work in the production line as production cheap labor. And most of this, just tell you.